I'm like sausage, sunny pudding kotakai, cho. Lucky Star Anime. If you've been lingering around in the anime community for a while now, chances are you've heard of this anime in some way or another. As a household name of the late 2000s, this anime sparked countless threads, arguments, and wars that I'm personally happy that I was not a part of. I gotta say, I thought the general consensus was that Lucky Star was a funny and amazing show that most everyone liked. I've met a few people who adore the show for what it is, but I can confidently say that their attitudes toward the show did not prepare me for what I would find on the Mal discussion board at 3 AM. Why do people like Lucky Star?
I'm guessing it's because only weak-minded people are brainwashed
so I was
into
under the
thinking that
impression
it's
that
funny.
only
The world is full of pedophiles and otakus who drool over belly fluffs. Sad but true.
Okay dude, you guys for real needed some chill back in the late 2000s, bruh. Especially you, removed user. You frightened me. Whether you love the show or absolutely despise it, it's important to consider that Lucky Star was something different for its time. It was an anime that encapsulated its own time period so well that it cemented a new style into anime in the process. Look back on the spring season of 2007 and tell me what you see. Here, I'll give you a minute to kind of peruse and look things over. Time starts now. Alright, time's up, let's move on. If you scroll through the set list for that time period, which I'm assuming you did given the time I gave you probably saw that the majority of shows followed the same cookie-cutter run of genres. Mahou shoujo, romance, mecha, and many more genres we think of when reminiscing about some of the earlier instances of anime, with that classic drawing style that dominated the time period. What if, however, a new style was brought to light? One that might have been in the rough, but not really given the time of day? What if a very capable animation studio, one that produced a plethora of classic works that are adorned by fans worldwide, produced a show that would impact the whole of anime well into the future? This is in essence what Kyoto Animation accomplished upon Lucky Star's release, as it shook the late 2000s in a way that was on par with the same wave of excitement that their previous work, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, produced. Lucky Star's manga approximately sold 1.8 million copies upon release, and even sparked an immense amount of tourism in the once quiet town of Washimiya, Japan. There's a lot of interesting information on the town of Washimiya and how the locals utilized the Lucky Star hype to keep their town booming, but that isn't really what I'm here to talk about. If you are interested in that topic though, let me know in the comments. I'd honestly love to talk more about Lucky Star related things and some of the effects that were brought about by the anime. Now, before we continue on, I just want to quickly run through a term many of us have probably heard before.
Moe.
I'm pretty sure we all have a very similar idea as to what the term means. It's been showcased in a lot of anime and has in essence become its very own style over the years. Moe is actually a very important aspect of Lucky Star though, one that would later become the future focus of this video. Can you guess the focus of this video? The term moe doesn't necessarily have a textbook definition, but I think the way Konata represents it in episode 1 of the anime is actually the way that a lot of people see moe as a concept. When Miyuki refers to her spacey and clumsy tendencies as problematic, Konata interprets them as moe elements. In other words, they're surface value traits of Miyuki's character that are cute or lovable in nature. You can generally link this to a variety of characters of all types, and I believe it's what most people think of when they're faced with defining moe as a concept. The moe style and the tropes that come with it have been a really huge influence on a lot of modern anime. This is where all the labu labu hard they're referenced a lot in various shows and have even helped birth this sort of subgenre of cute girls doing cute things. We generally see this kind of subgenre in a lot of slice of life anime, where a set of characters, usually female in this case, take part in one big activity that they all come to enjoy together. Shows like Love Live, K-On!, and Yuru Yuri all have many sorts of moe elements to them, be it beautiful character design and building, idols that each conveniently have some sort of specified personality that caters to whatever type of woman you like, or just lovable characters that you can laugh at when they literally get omitted from their own series. This concept of moe has stretched across many different series to the point where it's helped shape modern anime as we know it. These moe elements are almost essential now in anime, driving the fanbase to choose who to root for, who to laugh or cry with, who to loot on inhin.net, all things that help us attach ourselves to a character of our choice. Let me just clarify that I recognize Lucky Star is by no means the first ever anime to show cute girls doing cute things, or even moe for that matter. I noticed this was one hell of a trend on the multiple forums I scoured, as a fair amount of people were pretty, passionate in conveying how Lucky Star wasn't the first of its kind. I think it's pretty obvious that shows like Azumanga Daioh, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Sailor Moon, all these very popular titles that we hold in our hearts for various reasons, came well before Lucky Star and were similar in nature. Lucky Star, from what I gather, however, is normally what many people consider to be the birthplace of moe, and for good reason in my opinion. While many people consider it as such due to the show's comedic and lovable qualities, I think it was more the impact it made in its specific time period that gave the anime its rightful title as the birthplace of the moe style. To make a long story short, the late 2000s were one hell of a ride, with plenty iconic gaming and anime moments that we all look back on even today. Post the late 2000s, however, there's been a steady increase in both gaming and watching anime, two things that could have ended your entire career back in the day if you weren't careful with who you told. For any older people out there watching, you might remember a time where maybe you got flamed in school for watching something people now love. Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon. Am I arousing any PTSD yet? This might be a somewhat harder concept to grasp for the younger generation, being that we're all in 2022, a time where these forms of media are now more mainstream than ever before and can be found just about anywhere. The internet in the late 2000s, however, was still fairly undeveloped. The culture hadn't quite established itself into normality, and it was actually seen as a more weird or nerdy way to spend your time. With this being the case, the internet was generally a place where recluses came to vibe with others like them, which would eventually lead into all these different communities we have online today. More specifically for the anime community, however, Lucky Star captured the early otaku mindset in a way that in turn captured the heart of its audience. You have to understand that like many other aspects of the internet, anime wasn't as easily accessible as it is today. Back then there was no Crunchyroll, no Funimation, no safe or efficient way to really stream anime online. You really had to work for the shows that you wanted to watch, be it finding shitty quality insert anime name episodes part 1 through 9 on YouTube or going through some sketchy means of torrenting it. I know that probably doesn't sound like much, but really compare the effort that takes to just popping up your favorite anime site and hitting a play button. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I do, however, think that these small obstacles in essence gave communities a sort of pride, one that propelled them to go deeper and deeper into whatever rabbit hole they might have been falling down. Back in a time where anime was essentially your last dive out of a social life, being an otaku left you in a pretty isolated state in the real world. I know this might not have been the case for everyone, but what I do know is that it isn't always easy to relate to the crowd, and unfortunately back then it was even harder to find people who liked anime. That being the case, it wasn't uncommon to be the odd man out in social situations. While the cool kids were excited about riding Heelys through the halls, you were thinking about Hinata riding you. Jokes aside though, the community felt much more isolated outside of the internet. It was something you kept to yourself until you got home and hopped on whatever messaging board or game was popular at the time. And so, propelled by the excitement they built from both each other and the shows they watched, otaku constantly sought out as many shows as they could, exploring what felt like their own little world. It didn't matter that no one understood what made anime so special to them. It didn't matter that they were made fun of for liking Chinese cartoons. Because at the end of the day, it was something that gave them joy in a time where maybe passion or happiness was scarce in life. Through comically parodying other anime and Japanese pop cultural references, Lucky Star attracted a lot of attention from otaku worldwide, utilizing the passion and excitement for anime and otaku culture as its selling point. The show, in its own way, captured their audience through one of their more relatable characters, Konata Izumi, a blue-haired otaku who would later come to define an early community of anime watchers. Her character took the passion, the lifestyle, and voice of otaku and gave it form. She in her own way was what it meant to be a hardcore otaku of the time, mentioning anime in damn near everything she did, from karaoke with her friends to comparing real-world scenarios to her favorite anime. This is in essence what made Lucky Star so special in regards to its relatability to otaku across the world. Because these people could see themselves in a character, because of the similarities they shared, and because of how society felt about this cultural phenomenon at the time, these otaku and their culture now felt normalized in a time where it was seen as weird or wrong. This is how Lucky Star related to its audience on such a deep level. It was a satire, one that played on the different tropes and intricacies of the anime community for its time. With many pop cultural references based in the 80s to late 2000s, the anime presented the audience with a slice of what the early time period had to offer. Something that would quench that classic crave otaku sought that would help them understand more about other anime and Japanese media. While scrolling through the toxic cesspool that was the Mal discussion board, I noticed a large misconception that has sparked a lot of beef between anime watchers over the years. There seems to be this idea that people who watch Lucky Star and enjoy it for what it is are otaku who somehow look down on other anime watchers? I personally can't get behind that idea, as a lot of people I've met who love the show are honestly just chill people. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's people out there like that, but hey man, at the end of the day, we're all spanking it to anime women, so our opinion isn't really valid anyway. It's not that watching Lucky Star puts you above other anime watchers as an otaku. It does, however, give you as the viewer an appreciation for otaku culture and some of the early Japanese media that encompass the time period. It's, in my opinion, a cultural thing, one that's just interesting to look back on and recognize while you watch and laugh with the main cast. Additionally, I just want to point out that a lot of people really like to consider the show boring, which, fair, the cute girls doing cute things styled shows aren't necessarily for everybody, but I do think that if you want to enjoy Lucky Star for what it is, you should look into some of the shows it might reference, as the jokes and scenarios make a lot more sense that way. There's actually whole subreddits with episode-specific lists of the source media that is referenced in each episode. So if you have any interest in the show, I definitely recommend checking them out beforehand and maybe trying out a few series. The sources can range from other earlier anime to literal dated airings of 80s Timote shampoo commercial. Thanks to Konata, I not only almost found myself screaming along to the original Dragon Ball Z opening at 2 AM in the morning, but I will also never be able to wash my hair the same way again. Those who know, no. My point in all of this is that Lucky Star for many otaku was a show that openly represented the passion and love for anime in Japan that was otherwise seen as nerdy or weird. It was a celebration of sorts, one that built off the media and culture of its predecessors and made it relatable to a worldwide audience with similar interests. This sparked an immense amount of profit from various Lucky Star themed merchandise and showed Japanese companies just how profitable Moe could be. From this point on, Moe began to climb its way up in popularity, gaining more and more attention with cuter character designs and more cute girls doing cute things styled shows like what we see today. I feel like now you can't hardly go a season without seeing a show where cute girls do cute things. Be that girls trekking across a post-apocalyptic wasteland and making the most of it, or girls commanding literal tanks and fighting one another for club activities. And so, despite its amazing predecessors, Lucky Star would ultimately be the one to cement the Moe style into anime as a whole. Through its popularity and passionate fanbase, the show gained a massive influence, providing direction for future Moe shows and the subgenre birthed with it. It showed both audiences and studios alike that you didn't need to have a compelling romance or action-based plotline to attach yourself to a relatable set of characters. People resonated with this idea, seeing themselves in Konata through this sort of united otaku pride that was really prevalent during the time period, which would ultimately lead to the show's overarching status in anime as a whole. That being said, I really do hope this video has helped shed some light on Lucky Star and just how big of an impact it made when it hit the community. I made this video with intentions of just explaining the Moe aspect and how Lucky Star shaped the style, but there's so much more to the series and I would really love to talk about it again in a future video. I personally think that the anime deserves a lot of love, and I can confidently say that no matter how many times I watch it, I always find something new to enjoy. If you have seen it, show us some love in the comments and maybe subscribe while you're there. If you haven't seen it and this video maybe convinced you to give it a try, feel free to let me know in the comments as well. That said, thanks for watching and I'll hopefully see you in the next vid. Ite dashai!